So, hello, Andy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you are our homegrown, one of our homegrown commissioned artists this week. Um, where are you currently based right now?
So we're currently in Wivenhoe in Essex,
Oh, right. Okay.
northeast Essex, near the Suffolk border.
Great.
So yeah, I've been here for a long time. So I had my career in the sixth form college down here in Colchester, which is the nearby town, and took early retirement a couple of years ago, partly to concentrate on my own work and find out what that actually is. So yeah, that's what I've been doing the last year or so.
So, previous to that, so were you a teacher, and you've decided to work on
Yeah,
your
I
own?
was. That's right. Yeah, I was a teacher at the college for about 27 years, actually, and most of the time head of photography, but within the art department. So various things I taught, like ceramics and glass and art history, as well as the photography. So yeah.
How are you finding? How are you finding your feet in the kind of exploring your practice a wee bit more? It can be quite daunting, I think, after all those kind of years. Obviously,
Sure.
very well practiced, but finding that voice again.
Sure. Yeah. The thing is just to have space in your own head a bit, and that takes time. It takes time to sort of have a transition from being so kind of taken up with things, so that you've never got any space in your head, to gradually, having more than enough space, perhaps, and then you've got to somehow deal with it and create your own structures. And yeah, I suppose that's where I am now, really. So it's why it's been really good that there's these things that that the stove has set, these little challenges, because it's like a focus. And a simple focus, but you can kind of make it as profound as you want, which is the nice thing about it, because they're so open-ended. So I found that, especially during these last few months, it's been helpful to me to kind of create my own focus.
Great, good to hear. Thank you. So currently, how would you sort of define, if you can, your sort of art practice right now?
I think right now, I'll just show you this. I sent this in, if you can see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The studio in a jar, because basically my own studio is full of boxes that we packed. We were packing madly before the lockdown was announced, and then suddenly my studio's full of boxes, so I can't use it as a. So I thought, oh well, I'll just make a model of it. Maybe it will have a final resting place in a jar. But what I did do in the studio was glass work. That's where I did my stained glass, which I've been doing for about 15 years, I guess. And I've tried to combine that with photography and bring in my photographic interest. So the last 2 or 3 years, I've been doing printing onto glass, screen printing, photographic imagery, but also some of my own imagery, and combining it. And then actually, once the glass is fired with the image on it, then creating stained glass windows from that. So it's like a kind of hybriding of two different art forms together. And that's what I was working on. So I suppose I'm a bit, if I'm frustrated, it's that I can't get on with that and do continue that journey, and see where it goes. But so that's what I'm hoping for once we actually get to Dumfries, to to continue that and have a decent sized space to do it in.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that kind of work. Especially that it really can transform a space, so it goes beyond that initial kind of the stained glass, which has that really a beautiful visual impression, but then you're also moving within the image when it casts the light within a room.
Sure.
Really
the people do love stained glass, and I've done workshops in it as well, because I've taught it at college for several years. And people just love, even at a simple level, they just love, the textures and color and the light transmission, and being able to kind of create something which is a unique piece of work, which often people without much perhaps artistic background, they still discover something of beauty that they can make themselves. So that's been really good with glass, with working with people. So yeah.
Amazing. So you've kind of touched on it a wee bit there, but I suppose how has this pandemic, the lockdown, affected your practice? Do you find yourself kind of exploring a bit more research, or because you can't kind of access the materials, or are you kind of busy doing other kind of other kind of practices and things?
Yeah, well, it's the homegrown micro commission that I've been fortunate to be selected for for this week coming is a case in point, really, that I wasn't able to use my glass equipment, and because I packed everything up very carefully, it took me about 10 days to pack the whole lot up. So I still had some clay that I could play about with, and so that is another interest which I've been able to access during this time. So I've recycled. I made a plaster slab first, just to sort of be able to recycle some old clay. And then from that, I made this piece, which I shared with the stove, which kind of responds to this social distancing that we've all been going through the last few weeks and months, but in a kind of different way, in a more 3D way, and thinking about the patterns that exist between people as they walk about and they avoid each other. So the kind of communication through avoidance kind of thing, which I found, it's quite profound in a way that almost you become closer to strangers, than to your own family in some ways, because you're physically encountering them, whereas with your family you're not so much, perhaps. And then people move out of the way for you, and you kind of, there's this little dance that goes on, and people are sort of happy to do that, and there's a real warmth I found. 99% of the time people are very warm and accommodating, because we're all in the same boat.
Yes.
We're all humans together, sort of trying to get through this. So I kind of tried to represent that really in my play piece that I've done, and it did. Yeah, it kind of helped me. I was able to lose myself in the process of play. That's the thing, which has been denied me a bit with my studio being locked down.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite nice.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds wonderful. I think it's you're right in the sense of it's a unified kind of common experience of that everyone adopts this, and it's become a kind of unifying experience. Obviously, lately with the Cummings going elsewhere has kind of put that in jeopardy somewhat, but we won't go down that road.
No, outrage. Yeah.
What's the most memorable piece or project that you've worked on over your career?
I think, yeah, that's a good question, but I think quite quickly I could identify it as the piece I did just actually before I closed the studio down, which was a piece which was supposed to be a kind of farewell to Wivenhoe, which is the town we live in. And what it was doing, it was a stained glass piece which had photographic elements in it, so that was good. It was a good sort of conclusion of those experiments, but it was like also a kind of memorial to the land around Essex University, because like so many universities around the country, it does seem as if the education model has shifted somewhat, and there's more a sense of how much money can we make out of this enterprise. And there's so much building work that's gone on. So it's a lament almost for the land that's been lost underneath this university, which because we've known this land for years, like maybe 30 years, we've been in this area, and the landscape has definitely changed since we've been here. And certainly in the last 10 years, there's been so much building work going on that I wanted to produce a piece of work which kind of was a celebration of that amazing landscape, but also a sadness, really. And stained glass is a good way of doing that, because it's like a memorial. It has that kind of feel about it, which you associate with memorial, memory, and kind of trying to capture things that are close to the heart, the human heart. And the other thing that I brought into this was that, in fact, John Constable's done a famous painting called Wivenhoe Park, which is actually based on a big house that's within the university grounds. So I kind of incorporated that into my piece, as a reference on what sort of changed since his time. I mean, he was very much celebrating the sort of bucolic landscape in a time of the first industrial revolution, back in the day. So he was a romantic in that sense. I guess I'm keying into that idea of sort of trying to hang on to what we have and recognize that it is being changed, but recognizing that there has to be some change. You can't sort of just be pie in the sky. Obviously, there is a sense of development, but the way it's done is the crucial thing. And I guess I wanted to encapsulate that in the piece. And I had an exhibition of this in the bookshop, the local bookshop down in Wivenhoe, and that was great. It was on the 1st of February, so just in time, and people could still act normally. And there were some great conversations from local people. They hadn't thought about what was going on up there, and it made them think about what they had and what they wanted to hang on to, and the fact that it's not, we have some sort of power in the sense of if enough people know about things and enough people care about things, then perhaps things can be done differently. So that was my message really with the window, as well as a personal one. It was a more sort of community one. Yeah. So I was really happy with that piece of work, actually.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. And do you find in a lot of your work that place is quite important to you as you're creating it or as you're responding?
Yeah, I think definitely. I'd see I suppose in my photography, I've often seen myself as landscape based. So landscape being such a big term, a big genre, which spills out into so many ways, sort of urban landscapes and human landscapes and all of that. So yeah, I would say that place and context is important for what I do. And I'm sort of working my way towards something on power, nuclear power, energy, that kind of thing for my next window, perhaps. Because there are a couple of big power stations down here. One of them perhaps bought by the Chinese, we don't know yet. So many things we don't know about these, shrouded in mystery. But Bradwell Power Station down here, which has been kind of entombed with a cover because it's been decommissioned, but you don't know what's going to happen. It might come back into life, or it might be replaced by something else. So I wanted to sort of try and convey, think about those things in my next piece, and perhaps, yes, give it a more positive spin than purely negative.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Next question is there anyone you find particularly inspiring to you right now? This could be somebody you've always kind of looked to, but seems to have a kind of new poignancy, or could be a writer, a politician, God forbid, or any artist right now.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question. I think I've been quite impressed with Grayson Perry actually in the last few weeks. He's done his little program on television. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of his work in every way, although I like some of it, like everybody, I guess. But what I'm impressed with is that he's serious about connecting with real people. And there were some particularly moving moments, I think, on those programs recently, where he talks to real people about their work. And some of them are surprised that he's actually chosen them, because they've never even considered themselves as an artist. And they've only actually done some work in response to his program. And yet he sees something of worth, of intrinsic value in what they've done. And then he talks to them on TV. And I don't know, there's something genuine about that. I think I'm always looking for the genuine and the real in someone's work. And I would hope that would translate into my own as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting with Grayson Perry, because he seems to kind of adopt more of this, the person, the sort of artist as a person, and an approachable person and a connector. It's less and less so in his career become about the product, if you will, or what he's kind of delivering. It's really about him as a presenter, him as a kind of personality, him as a sort of connector or conduit to creativity. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is his strength, really. And he's interested in how art does connect people, and how it helps us through this period of time, you know, as a definite channel of kind of fellow human feeling between people, rather than just a purely aesthetic practice, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly connects to what we believe in here, is that kind of, there's more to art than product. There's an invisibility to it.
Sure.
Connecting people, and that can in itself can create something quite beautiful. Thank you very, very much for having a chat with me. And yeah, you can, I think anyone watching, you can see your Homegrown commission out there on our website as well. So thank you very much, Andy.
Okay, thanks a lot, Martin. Cheers.